Go underground?
Head toward the ravine and terrain mask. Use the crevices. Get low and stay low.
That clip you just saw was from Ace Combat 4. It's the first time the players ever get introduced to Stonehenge, aka the child traumatizer of 2001 PS2 players. Brace yourselves if you're watching this. I have a lot of clips of gameplay and all the cutscenes from that all involve Stonehenge or its successors in one way or another, and I intend to use them. So the question I pose today is simple. Is Stonehenge actually possible to build? There's lots of science behind that and all that, but I intend to put this in layman's terms and something that people with no brain cells can understand. Which will help because I also have no brain cells, and I would like to understand if this is possible. We'll start with the size of Stonehenge. Stonehenge itself has a barrel diameter of 120 centimeters. It has 8 guns arrayed in its turrets, and its entire complex is approximately 1 kilometer in width. Very impressive, and basically the start of Strange Real's collective compensation device syndrome. In our world, railguns do exist. However, they're not of the size and caliber of Stonehenge. A standard railgun of our world is 30mm long. The number of guns that can fit in a single railgun turret are unknown at this point because we're still in the experimental phase with these weapons. However, the gun installations are only 5 meters in length. Very modest, and nothing compared to Stonehenge.
Stonehenge is responsible for the loss of many aces. We're in need of new heroes. Be sure to make it back in one piece.
Next, we get to propulsion, or how a giant slab of tungsten gets propelled at enough force to make anything on the other end disappear into a fine mace meshed with intestine giblets. Stonehenge isn't exactly a true railgun system. It uses gunpowder as an initial propulsion. The electromagnets take over and propel the shell up to 6 kilometers a second. For context, that's about Mach 22. Or Mach 9, I forget. My brain isn't good at the moment. A railgun, on the other hand, is complicated. A railgun, in theory, uses 2 parallel magnetic fields to move a projectile. But I'm not at the point where I can explain the actual science and all that behind it, because I do not have the time and I also don't have the brain power, but basically, things move very, very fast. It's much more energy imparted to the shell after it leaves the barrel than we would have with a standard chemical explosive propulsion, such as is used in literally everything else. The maximum recorded velocity of railgun shells is about 3 kilometers a second, so at about half Stonehenge's speed.
The mission succeeded, but the combat losses due to Stonehenge were higher than expected. Victory will elude us until it is eliminated.
So, with the range, quick context is needed to explain why Stonehenge has these specifications. Stonehenge, in the Ace Combat lore, which is way too extensive to go into, but maybe some other time, basically Stonehenge is designed to engage asteroid fragments as they fall from orbit. For that reason, it is to cover an entire continent, or at least a decent amount of it. Its range is 1,200 kilometers, which is most of the Eusian continent, stretching all the way from one end to the other with a few corners outlying. It is capable of accurate fire for that entire area, and you want to know how it gets the targeting? 8,192 supercomputers. I wish it was 8,492 supercomputers, because then I could use this clip.
Over the radio. They call themselves the 8492nd Squadron.
8492! 8492! Is that all you people have to say? There is no squadron in our military with that number.
But enough about that. The targeting system for our standard railguns in our time is similar, but also not as advanced. The targeting system is guided mainly by radar and computer systems. It's the same as most weapon systems today, such as the Phalanx Sea-Wiz, every other air-to-air missile, and most gun systems as well. Manual fire is also possible, however it's not effective against small, fast, and far targets, so it needs to be standing still, is a giant block, and also have little maneuverability. Multiple shell types are used in all occasions of use. Armor-piercing high-explosive shells were used against Ulysses in post-Ace Combat 2 and pre-Ace Combat 4, in timeline-wise, and the Arsenal Bird in Ace Combat 7. Here's a clip of a demonstration of what those things look like from Ace Combat 7.
Stonehenge, shoot!
Understood. Begin final countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Adjusting angle.
3, 2, 1. Fire! Hit, damn it!
Against ISAF planes in the Continental War and Ace Combat 4, we had airburst shells. The infamous fly below 2,000 feet to avoid shells that prompted a lot of AI quotes about that, and I will show one or two.
Incoming from Stonehenge! All aircraft descend to lower altitude!
For railgun prototypes in our world, there's only one singular type of shell used. Armor-piercing, fin-stabilized, discarding sabot, or APFSDS. It's basically the standard thing you find in tank shells, in literally anything designed to kill modern battle tanks, and that's for one reason. It is a block of tungsten. No explosive component, no fancy guidance systems, just a block of tungsten moving very, very fast. How far? Well, the fast bit is important because the power a railgun imparts, the power a railgun shell has on impact, which is basically its destructive capability, is done by this equation. Projectile mass multiplied by its velocity squared divided by 2. Which, if you have a higher velocity, you have much, much more power. We'll start with the standard railguns for the lifespan section. A railgun lifespan is about 3,000 shots per rail. Rails are replaceable and the gun itself is constantly durable for longer than the rails. The only way to damage the gun is through either combat damage, that is something hitting it and disabling it, or extreme environmental damage. So that's acidic corrosion, weathering down of the gun itself, sand, all that sort of stuff. Now we get to the calculations of Stonehenge itself. Stonehenge was created in July 1998. The first 7 guns were destroyed April 2nd, 2005. Notice first 7. Those were all destroyed by Mobius Swan, aka the player, in Ace Combat 4. Now, there was the last gun, but there's a bit of a story behind why this last gun was spared. The last gun was spared because its power supply was taken out during the Ulysses planetfall, and long story short, that last gun failing was kind of the whole reason that the lore exists around Stonehenge being used as a weapon. Again, I don't have time for this. Yet. But basically, that last gun is sitting there since 1999, the date of the planetfall, all the way till 2019. The writers of Ace Combat 7 obviously comment on this.
Are we sure that thing's using a fire? Seriously, I mean, how old is it? If it doesn't, then I'll look as for a drive. I'd get praying if I were you. Well, if it works, it'll bring down even an arsenal bird. Big if. And it'd have to hit.
It's destroyed on August 19th, 2019, this time not by the player, though that objective has given me multiple mental trauma and a lot of time wasted, but instead by overheating. Yes, overheating. The most advanced railgun system in the entire world destroyed by overheating. Though to be fair, they were using generator trucks to power it and they didn't have any coolings. Again, tangents when related to Ace Combat are kind of my thing. So the total lifespan of the Stonehenge railgun system was 21 years and 1 month. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not as good as our railguns, but again, it's Ace Combat. Nothing makes sense. But it's still fun. So, a conclusion. Yes, humanity could theoretically construct a Stonehenge system with a bit more technological evolution. However, I forgot to mention the one thing that makes Stonehenge possible, and it's not high technology levels of Strange Reel, it's the fact that Strange Reel's economy has literally no effect on its weapon systems. In Ace Combat, we see literal weapons that could be the Wrath of God used so many times that any other nation that tried to develop it should have an economic collapse. The only time we've actually seen this is with Belka. But Belka then decides to still keep going with it, and that's... Oh god, I'm tangenting again. Okay, enough tangenting. Unsustainable initiative because of economic circumstances. However, humanity can already create what was the successor to Stonehenge. Megalith. And for the final time in this entire thing, roll the clip, future me. A quick side note, while I was checking over all the facts to make sure all the stuff I said was accurate, side note, it was, I noticed something in the history section of this thing. It's always Belka.